In Philippians 4:7, the Apostle Paul said that the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. That sounds like a pretty wonderful promise, don't you think? We live in a world filled with unrest. It's all around us all the time. There's constant, persistent political strife and bickering. The spread of radical Islam throughout the world makes terrorism a constant threat. The current state of crisis with the coronavirus and all the changes that it has brought, and the news every day of hundreds and thousands of new illnesses and deaths, has everyone living in fear and has drastically changed every aspect of our lives every single day. Immorality is all around us, and our faith in God and our opposition to immoral practices results in the church and sometimes individual Christians coming under increasing attack. And yet, Paul says that we can have a peace from God that surpasses all understanding. So let's dig into this for a few minutes and see what we can learn about God's peace that defies understanding. Dave Ramsey wrote a book several years ago entitled Financial Peace. One of the basic premises of the book is that debt is destroying people's lives and robbing them of peace. The book was first published almost 30 years ago, and I remember hearing about it a few years later and thinking we could use that. So I went looking for a copy and discovered that the book sold for $35. And that was a lot of money for a book, and especially for a young couple that was struggling financially. I remember thinking somewhat cynically, so the real way to turn your financial situation around is to write a book and get millions of people to pay you $35 a piece for it. And don't get me wrong, I applaud Dave Ramsey for teaching Americans how to get out of debt, because that is a huge problem in this country. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I believe there are lots of people for whom the kind of financial peace that Dave Ramsey talks about is simply unattainable, and for that matter, not even fathomable. I heard a song recently that I had never heard before, sung by an artist that I had never even heard of before, and it has planted itself deep inside my heart and my mind. It's a song of despair that points to what I'm talking about here. The song is entitled Poor Man and is written and sung by a man named Jeffrey Martin. Listen to the words. He's an asphalt man just like his daddy. 10-hour days of rolling tar buys a double wide down an old dirt road outside the city on the edge of a muddy creek and the county line. Oh, Maggie, keep an eye on the water line. The car won't start and the money never comes in on time. Oh, Maggie, keep an eye on the water line. I feel it moving. They've got a baby on the way, but his wife still feels empty. Says it's hard to feel pretty when they're always counting dimes. He sits up nights in the kitchen in the dark when it's raining. He can't sleep for the sound pounding in his mind. And then he sings the chorus again, and he ends the song with this line sung 6 times. I'm not a bad man, I'm a poor man. And the last time he sings that line, he adds, I'm not a bad man, I'm a poor man, sinking. There are people out there, lots of people, for whom the words of that song are an everyday reality. They're stuck in dead-end jobs with no ladder to climb and no hope of finding a better job. They give most of their waking hours to those dead-end jobs, but they can't ever even pay all the bills that come in, and they're always on the verge of absolute financial collapse. Talk about financial peace to the man in Jeffrey Martin's song, and he would just give you a blank stare and then turn and walk away. Financial peace is a concept that he can't even begin to understand because he's trapped in a downward spiral that he cannot escape. That man and millions of others just like him will never find peace when it comes to finances. And by the way, that's not an exaggeration. In 2018, there were 38.1 million Americans living in poverty. And yet Paul says that even those 38.1 million people can find a peace that passes all understanding, because the peace that God offers doesn't depend on circumstances. It doesn't matter what your financial situation is. It doesn't matter how good or bad your health is. It doesn't matter whether you have a criminal record or have lived a pristine life. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, what side of town you live on, whether you come from a nuclear family or a dysfunctional home. God's unfathomable peace can be yours regardless of your circumstances. Tomorrow, we'll find out how. God bless you.